They're friends, that they were there. Maybe she's concerned that if she comes out and says it's one thing, there might be proof that it was something else. We don't know because she's not speaking to it, which is odd.
This better not come out. But yeah, I'm a man.
This is the clip the WNBA doesn't want you to see. Not because it's offensive, not because it's fake, but because once you watch it, you start asking questions the league refuses to answer.
Flag you. Brittney, let me see something real quick. Brick! Thank you! Get the hell out of here, yo!
It's not from a game, not an interview. Just Brittney Griner, shirt off, casually shooting a basketball by the pool. No jersey, bra, compression gear, no scars. At first it seems harmless, but as the video keeps looping, your brain catches up. Wait, what are we actually seeing? The confusion wasn't limited to trolls. This clip didn't go viral because of some random conspiracy thread. It went viral because it made people pause, because it came without answers. And silence, in a moment like that, speaks louder than any quote ever could. Suddenly your feed was flooded, sports commentators, even podcasts with massive platforms, all weighing in. What exactly are we looking at here? The WNBA had every opportunity to clarify. They could have said it was old, they could have said it was out of context, they could have said anything, but they didn't, not a word. And when a league that prides itself on fairness, inclusion, and visibility refuses to acknowledge the most viral moment of its season, people start digging. The WNBA stayed silent, even as the commentary got louder, sharper, more pointed. It wasn't just about gender anymore. People were dragging up every moment. A video alleged Griner called Caitlin Clark a white girl on the court. The story wasn't dying, it was growing. And silence wasn't protecting the league, it was exposing it. Across platforms, the message was the same. People weren't just watching, they were investigating, they were quoting, timestamping, and calling out the double standard. This wasn't a rumor anymore, it became a mystery. The video didn't prove anything, but it opened the floodgates, because when something feels that off and the people in charge pretend it doesn't exist, you don't get clarity, you get chaos. And it all started here. One clip. But let's not pretend this came out of nowhere. Let's rewind. How did we get here? This didn't start with a pool, it started with a pattern. Before the footage went viral, before the PBD podcast dropped quotes, and before everyone started analyzing Griner's chest frame, there was already something off. Fans had been noticing for years, not everyone said it out loud, but they felt it. Griner didn't just dominate the paint, she overpowered it. Her presence was different. Her build, her physicality, her style of play. Her voice didn't sound like anyone else in the league. Her mannerisms weren't like anyone else's either. And no one said a word. The WNBA never explained any of it. Never acknowledged the conversations happening in every comment section and every fan forum since her rookie year.
Allegedly, it could be any number of things, but my first inclination is to say that this person is not a female.
Even when people started asking questions, they were shut down, brushed off as trolls, bigots, or conspiracy theorists, the kind of labels that keep people quiet. But one thing always kept the whispers alive: silence from the top. And that silence got louder when a moment that should have sparked outrage vanished. During a game, Griner was allegedly caught on camera directing at Caitlin Clark, a, let's just say, inappropriate word.
Or the ticky-tack fouls that we were talking about earlier today.
That clip didn't make the rounds when it surfaced. No league statement, no media coverage. The league ignored it, and most of the press followed their lead. But fans didn't forget. Because if the roles were reversed, if a white player dropped that line on a black player, it would have been headlines, press conferences, and public apologies before halftime. Instead, nothing. It wasn't an isolated shock. Everything was fuel on a fire that had been burning just below the surface. People started digging through old film, comparing body language, voice clips, slow-motion footage. Even clips that had nothing to do with the pool video were suddenly getting new attention. And the more people looked, the worse the league's silence looked. That's when questions turned into accusations. Because when one player constantly pushes the boundaries of physicality, delivers flagrant fouls, makes controversial remarks, and walks away untouched, it stops feeling like a coincidence. It starts to feel like protection. It wasn't just one quote, it was a double standard. And it wasn't just Brittney Griner. It was how the league handled Brittney Griner. When fans brought up concerns, the response wasn't clarity. It was denial by omission. They didn't just refuse to engage, they erased the conversation. And that erasure only made things louder. What looked like a viral moment in a vacuum wasn't. It was the final straw for people who had been watching, waiting, and wondering. Because this didn't begin with a shirtless clip by the pool. It began with a question no one wanted to answer. And by the time the clip dropped, the people asking were done waiting. This was the spark. The moment that turned quiet suspicion into a public storm. Brittney Griner, shirt off, casually shooting hoops at a poolside court. No bra, no signs of surgery, just her and a basketball and millions of people asking what they were really looking at.
Flag you. Brittney, let me see something real quick. Brick! Thank you! Get the hell out of here, yo!
The video didn't surface on a sports page. It didn't come from an official WNBA channel. It wasn't leaked, it was public, posted like it was nothing. But once it hit TikTok, it exploded.
People are actually speculating, hey, this probably really could have happened because a lot of people believe that Brittney Griner is not a female.
People are actually speculating, hey, this probably really could have happened. Because a lot of people believe that Brittney Griner is not a female. It wasn't grainy security footage, it wasn't deepfake nonsense. It was clear, and it left people stunned. In the first few hours, it was mostly a shock. People sharing the video in disbelief. Comment sections flooded with reactions, then came the edits, the memes, the breakdowns. The moment wasn't just viral, it was dissected. And the more people watched it, the less it felt like a coincidence. The silence around it made things worse, because everyone knew what was coming next, a league statement, a medical expert, something. But none of that came. Not from the WNBA, not from Griner, not from any of the usual media voices who comment on every piece of controversy in the league. No response. And in this era, that's the worst move you can make. The internet doesn't wait for permission. It runs with the silence. By the next day, people were already pulling out comparisons, testosterone policies in the NCAA, gender eligibility rules in Olympic sports, and the complete lack of anything similar from the WNBA. People weren't guessing anymore. They were accusing. And even those who weren't ready to believe it, they were still asking, if there's nothing to hide, why say nothing? What should have been a strange, easily explained moment became a public scandal, because the league's silence didn't just create room for the conversation. It let the worst possible version of it take over. This wasn't just about Brittney Griner. It was about how the WNBA handles accountability. And this poolside clip, it wasn't a moment, it was a match. And everything after it was the fire. The pool clip wasn't the first red flag, it was just the one people couldn't ignore. Because the truth is, the WNBA has been protecting Brittney Griner for years. Not just from scrutiny, but from accountability. People just happened to start looking backward, and what they found was a pattern. Start with her behavior on the court. Physicality is part of the game. But what Griner's gotten away with isn't just physical, it's reckless, dangerous, and somehow always unpunished. Take the elbow. During a regular season game, Griner delivered a clear shot to Aaliyah Boston's throat. No accident, no apology, no ejection, nothing.
A little bit of a cheap shot here. You can see Griner with the elbow, and it's a little bit high, and it hits Boston.
Boston dropped. The crowd reacted, and the league moved on like it never happened. Then there was the Caitlin Clark game. After weeks of rising tension, Griner's team finally faced off against Clark's. During the game, after a basket, Griner clearly mouths, "white girl." And yet, not a single fine. No suspension, no public comment. The league, silent. The media, complicit.
For the ticky-tack fouls that we were talking about earlier today.
Imagine anyone else saying that in reverse. Imagine Clark saying it to Griner. She'd be off the court, sponsors pulled, legacy ruined. But Griner, protected. Now add the no calls, the flagrant fouls, the missed reviews. Caitlin Clark got blindsided, shoulder checked by Chennedy Carter during a dead ball. No play, no reason, just a hit designed to send a message.
And Clark. I mean, that's clearly...
And what did Clark do? She got up. No complaints, no drama. Just kept hooping like she always does. Composed, professional, and taking every shot sent her way. At first, the league said nothing, but after the internet erupted, they quietly upgraded the hit to a flagrant. Now compare that to Brittney Griner. She elbowed Aaliyah Boston straight in the throat, on camera, with intent. Boston hit the floor, the refs let it go. And the league? Not a word. No flagrant. No accountability. So when Caitlin Clark gets shoved, the league takes action, only after public outrage. When Griner throws an elbow, silence. Griner didn't need to touch Caitlin Clark that night. The league had already made it clear. She plays by a different set of rules. And the silence that protects her? It's the same silence that punishes everyone else. The silence wasn't just protection, it was permission. And when people pointed it out, when fans and media asked why nothing was being said, the response was predictable. Nothing. No investigative questions, no league transparency, not even after the clip of Griner shirtless ignited everything. Instead of defending the league's rules, the WNBA chose to protect its image by protecting one player. And that's what made everything worse, because now, it's not just about Griner. It's about the WNBA's credibility, and whether it even exists anymore. Once the pool clip went viral, it didn't stay in the shadows of comment sections. This wasn't just internet speculation anymore, it became a headline issue. TV personalities, podcast hosts, journalists, and political commentators all jumped in. This wasn't a fringe rumor, this was a full-blown debate, and no one brought more heat than Stephen A. Smith. On national television, he didn't mention the pool clip directly, but the target of his frustration was clear.
Respectfully, Brittney Griner was in a Russian prison. You would think that somebody who is now free, back in America on home soil, would not have too much to complain about.
The comment was directed at Caitlin Clark's treatment, but the implication? Squarely on Griner, her behavior, her attitude, her silence. And if Stephen A. was speaking carefully, Megyn Kelly wasn't.
We don't know what she's mouthing, but she seems to, have a mouth on her and not exactly be in the gratitude space. Griner herself hasn't commented. Now, why is that? If you were being accused of making racist statements, I think you'd want to clear that up quickly.
She didn't tiptoe. She said the quiet part out loud. And she wasn't alone. On X, former NCAA swimmer and outspoken women's rights advocate Riley Gaines resurfaced the alleged moment where Griner called Caitlin Clark a white girl. That clip had been ignored when it first appeared, but once the controversy exploded, it was everywhere. No consequences, just another thing the league refused to address. Then came the PBD podcast, one of the fastest-growing political shows in America, and they held nothing back.
And think about it, Brittney Griner talking all that trash. We traded the merchant of death for your ass, and you're out there talking shit and saying racist shit on the freaking sideline, and it's disgusting. Okay, that's why nobody watches it, and it'll
No, they're watching it. No. The point is, Vinny, if Caitlin Clark goes and is playing, they're watching it.
That one clip dragged the entire league into a national political spotlight. Suddenly, the controversy wasn't about basketball anymore. It was about race, gender, accountability. And everyone, even people who had never watched a WNBA game, were asking the same question. Is Brittney Griner even supposed to be in the WNBA? And through all of it, no official comment, no interview clarification, just silence. That silence didn't calm things down. It made them worse, because when ESPN, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, and the country's biggest podcasts are all talking about the same 10-second clip, and the league still won't say a word, you're not protecting your players, you're sacrificing your credibility. By this point, the clip had been seen millions of times. The reactions were loud, the quotes were brutal, the silence was deafening. So fans did what the media wouldn't. They started looking for the rules, specifically the gender eligibility rules in the WNBA. And what they found was nothing. Just a vague idea that if you've been drafted, you must be eligible. But eligible by what standard? The Olympics have rules, the NCAA has policies, international federations have entire departments that handle this stuff. But the WNBA? Nothing. No one even knew who would be responsible if a gender-based protest was filed. There's no published process, no appeals structure, no clarity. That's when people started comparing. Olympic runners? Disqualified for testosterone levels? College swimmers? Forced to switch events based on hormone tests. But Brittney Griner? Drafted? Celebrated? So why not here? Why is the WNBA the only major league with no clarity? Because it never planned to need one. The league wanted to be the image of inclusion, visibility, empowerment. So it avoided the hard questions. It chose image over infrastructure. And for years that worked. But the moment the pool clip dropped, the lack of rules wasn't just an oversight. It became the story. The WNBA can't explain what's happening because it never created a framework that would let it. And now that the public is asking, they have nowhere to point. Because when there are no rules, there's no way to say they weren't broken. The WNBA wants to grow. That's what they keep saying. They want packed arenas, more sponsors, bigger TV deals, respect on the same level as the NBA. And for the first time in years, they're getting close. People are tuning in. Highlights are going viral. Jerseys are selling. And yet, in the middle of the biggest moment in the league's history, they're losing the one thing they can't afford to lose: credibility. Because you can't build trust and dodge transparency. You can't say you believe in equality, then create a rule book with exceptions. And you can't demand people take your league seriously while shielding one player from every form of accountability. The WNBA built its image around activism, around fairness, around being bigger than basketball. But when it comes to Brittney Griner, that all disappears. The league looked the other way when she elbowed Aaliyah Boston in the throat.
You can see Griner with the elbow, and it's a little bit high, and it hits Boston.
They said nothing when she allegedly called Caitlin Clark a white girl on the court. They ignored the poolside clip, the podcasts, the memes, the media firestorm. They ignored all of it. And now, they want fans, new and old, to believe they're serious about this moment. Let's look at what serious leagues actually do. The NCAA suspends players for social media comments. The NBA fines guys for flopping too hard. The Olympics disqualify medalists based on hormone levels, even when it's controversial. International sports bodies debate and legislate these things publicly, no matter the backlash. But the WNBA? They don't even acknowledge the questions. Not when fans ask. Not when media figures ask. Not even when entire political shows dedicate segments to it. And it's not just bad PR anymore. It's an institutional failure. Because when you protect one player at all costs, when you ignore fouls, silence critics, dodge policy, and erase controversy, you're not building a league, you're building a lie. This controversy could have been controlled. All the league had to do was address it early. Clarify the rules. Be transparent. Instead, they ducked. And now, they've handed the narrative over to everyone else. Pundits, podcasters, angry fans, political commentators. Everyone except themselves. The WNBA wants people to respect the game. But what game are we watching? One where fouls go uncalled, where slurs are unpunished, where the most protected player can't even be questioned? They're asking for trust while burying the truth. And in 2025, you can't have both. So the real question isn't about Griner anymore. It's about whether the WNBA has already lost the one thing it needs to survive: the benefit of the doubt. The WNBA says it wants growth. It wants more fans in the stands, more sponsors on jerseys, higher ratings, louder support, more respect. It wants to stand shoulder to shoulder with the NBA and show the world that women's basketball deserves the same stage, the same spotlight, the same power. It says all the right things, it posts all the right graphics, it launches all the right campaigns. But here's the truth. You can't build trust while hiding. You can't demand equality and protect one player from the rules. You can't shout, "Respect us," while refusing to explain what we're supposed to be respecting. The league built its brand on justice, on empowerment. And now, the most visible player in WNBA history has become the biggest controversy in women's sports, and the league refuses to say a word. Not after every single viral moment that made fans stop, rewind, and ask, "What is going on here?" And still, silence. That silence doesn't protect Brittney Griner. It doesn't protect the league. And it definitely doesn't protect the game. Because fans aren't stupid. They can handle truth. They can process nuance. But what they won't accept, what they'll never accept, is being lied to. And when a league refuses to be honest with its own audience, it doesn't just risk backlash. It risks irrelevance. You can't tell the world to watch us and then run from the moment they start paying attention. The WNBA got what it wanted, the spotlight. But when the lights came on, they had no idea what they were standing next to. And now, everyone's watching.